The movie begins with Prince Charming narrating how he traveled for several days and nights to find Princess Fiona. He arrives at the castle and makes his way to the highest room while he prepares to kiss her. He enters the room but sees the big bad wolf, who informs him that Fiona is on her honeymoon. Charming wonders who Fiona is on honeymoon with, and Shrek carries Fiona into a candy house. Shrek and Fiona prepare the following morning, and Little Red Riding Hood screams as she sees them. They see her basket and decide to go on a picnic. They run through a field and fight the townspeople that pursue them. Shrek and Fiona conclude their honeymoon and return to their house. They enter the house and see Donkey wailing. Shrek asks him why he isn't with the dragon, and Donkey says she is behaving abnormally. He tells Donkey that he and Fiona need their privacy because they just got married, and Donkey agrees to leave. Shrek tries kissing Fiona but sees Donkey and accidentally drops her. Donkey informs them that there are people outside, and a group of men from the land of far, far away inform them that Fiona's parents have invited them to their castle. Shrek refuses to accept the invitation because he feels it will lead to trouble. Fiona eventually convinces him to accept the invitation, and they get on the carriage and begin their journey. After a long journey, Donkey annoys Shrek and Fiona, and she informs them that they have arrived in the kingdom. They enter the kingdom, and several townspeople see their carriage and follow them to the castle. King Harold and Queen Lillian wait at the entrance of the castle and are surprised to see that Fiona and Shrek are ogres. Shrek and Harold panic as they walk to each other. Fiona introduces Shrek to her parents, and they have dinner. Lillian asks Shrek about where he lives, and he tries making the swamp sound interesting. Donkey reveals that they live in a swamp, and Shrek gets into an argument with Harold as they debate raising children. The chefs present the food, and Shrek and Harold make a mess as they argue. Fiona gets upset as they argue and steps out of the room. She enters her room and stands on the balcony with tears. Fiona's teardrop falls, and her fairy godmother arrives. She is shocked by Fiona's appearance and says she can make things right. She uses her magic to make her fancy, but Fiona says she isn't interested. Shrek enters the room and sees the fairy godmother. Fiona introduces him as her husband, and she wonders when they married. Shrek says he wants to leave, and the fairy godmother gives her a card that Shrek collects. She leaves the room, and Fiona argues with Shrek about his behavior. He informs her he is an ogre and silences a dog by roaring at it. Fiona tells Shrek she has made changes for him and storms out of the room. He hears her crying through the door and feels bad. Meanwhile, Harold talks to Lillian in their room, and she tells him Fiona made her choice. She tells him she doesn't want to lose her daughter again, and Harold says Shrek is a monster. The fairy godmother arrives on his balcony and forces him into her flying carriage. The fairy godmother yells at him and says that her son Prince Charming embarked on a long and dangerous journey only to find out the woman he is meant to save is married to an ogre. She eats junk food to calm herself and forces Harold to assure her that their children will get married. They drop him on his balcony and tell him to use his imagination to solve the problem. Harold goes to a bar named the Poison Apple and sees several fairy tale villains. He asks the waitress, Cinderella's ugly stepsister, if she knows how he can get rid of an ogre. She leads him to a room, and he talks to a mysterious man. Harold gives the man a bag of gold and asks him to get rid of Shrek. In the castle, Shrek is unable to sleep as he lies beside Fiona. He walks around the room and finds Fiona's diary in a music box. Shrek goes through the diary and realizes that Fiona was infatuated with Prince Charming. Harold knocks on his door and talks to Shrek. He apologizes for how he behaved during dinner and says he wants to make it up to Shrek. He asks Shrek to go hunting with him, and Shrek reluctantly agrees as he says it will make Fiona happy. Shrek and Donkey walk through the forest the following day and search for Harold. They don't see him after a while of walking, and a talking cat named Puss in Boots appears. Shrek underestimates him, and Puss uses his acrobatics to fight Shrek. Donkey accidentally kicks his groin, and Puss struggles to cough up a hairball. Shrek grabs him, and Puss says Harold hired him to kill him. Shrek feels bad and says Fiona might be better off if she was with a charming prince. He wishes he could make her happy and remembers the fairy godmother's card. Puss steps on Donkey, and Shrek uses his tears to activate the card. The fairy godmother's recording shows them her office's location. Puss begs Shrek to let him join them on their journey, and Shrek agrees. Fiona wakes up in her room but doesn't see Shrek. She leaves her room and asks Lillian if she knows where he is. Harold sees her walking toward him and hurriedly walks away. Fiona follows him, and as they talk, she realizes Harold doesn't support her marriage to Shrek. Meanwhile, Shrek and the others arrive at the fairy godmother's potion factory and enter. They meet the receptionist, and Shrek pretends to be from the Union. The receptionist supports their cause and lets them enter the factory. Shrek and the others see several dwarf workers producing potions. They walk to the fairy godmother's office and startle her. Shrek tells the fairy godmother that Fiona isn't happy. She goes through several love stories and says they don't involve ogres. She says ogres don't get happy endings, and Shrek gets an idea and leaves the room. They abduct a worker and put on his costume as he walks around. They enter a room full of potions, and Shrek says one of the potions has to help them. He instructs Donkey to watch while Puss climbs the shelf and searches for a good potion. Puss sees a happily ever after potion, and they get spotted by the workers. Puss struggles to remove the potion from the shelf, and Donkey catches it in his mouth as it falls. Shrek and the others run out of the room as the workers pursue and attack them. Shrek pours a large potion on the workers and transforms them into birds. They escape the building, and the fairy godmother emerges. She instructs the workers to clean the factory, and Charming emerges. She tells him that Shrek caused the damage, and a bird flies to her with a list of their potions. She realizes that Shrek took the happily ever after potion and says they can use it to their advantage. Shrek, Donkey, and Puss walk through the woods, and Donkey suggests they don't use the potion. Puss offers to take the first sip of the potion, but Donkey refuses and drinks it. Shrek takes the potion and drinks it. It begins raining, and they make their way to shelter. They arrive at a shed, and Shrek and Donkey get drowsy and pass out. Meanwhile, Fiona walks to her parents and says she will find Shrek and return to the swamp with him. She walks to the door, and as she opens it, she gets drowsy and faints. A bright light emerges from the shed and Fiona's room. Shrek wakes up the following morning and sees some women beside him. They treat him nicely, and he realizes he has transformed into a handsome man as he sees his reflection in a mirror. Donkey emerges, and they see that he is a white stallion. Puss reads the bottle, and it says that the potion affects the drinker's true love. He informs Shrek that he will have to kiss Fiona before midnight to make the potion's effects permanent. They decide to return to the kingdom and steal clothes from a traveler. Shrek rides around the kingdom, and several people stare at him. He rushes to the castle, and Fiona wakes up and realizes she is a human. Shrek hears Fiona's scream and runs inside the building. He enters a room, but the fairy godmother traps him. Fiona sees Donkey and Puss, and they inform him that Shrek is inside. Prince Charming walks to Fiona and pretends to be Shrek. Shrek watches as Fiona hugs Charming, and the fairy godmother tells him to stop living in a fairy tale. He gets upset and decides to leave the building. They go to the Poison Apple Bar, and Shrek remains sad. He says that Fiona is happy, and he notices as Harold enters the building and goes to the back room. Harold talks to the fairy godmother and tells her Fiona isn't comfortable with Charming. He suggests they call off their union, and the fairy godmother gives him a love potion to give Fiona. Shrek, Donkey, and Puss eavesdrop through the window, but Donkey yells as he realizes that Charming is the fairy godmother's son. The guards pursue them, but they flee the scene. That night, several famous princesses and couples arrive for Fiona and Shrek's dinner at the castle. The fairy godmother arrives, and the crowd cheers her. Gingerbread Man watches the ball, and they go on break. They watch as the police pursue Shrek and the others, and they are eventually apprehended. Gingerbread Man realizes that the handsome man is Shrek. Meanwhile, Harold enters Fiona's room with some tea that has the love potion. Fiona refuses to go and refuses to believe that Charming is her husband. She says she will give anything to have him back to his normal self, and Harold stops her from drinking the tea laced with the love potion. Shrek, Donkey, and Puss are imprisoned in a dungeon. Gingerbread Man and the others arrive and help them escape. They use Pinocchio's nose to get close to the chains and eventually get free. Shrek says they must stop Fiona from kissing Charming, so she doesn't fall in love with him. He sees Gingerbread Man standing on a window and gets an idea. Gingerbread Man takes them to the Muffin Man, who helps them create a giant gingerbread man. Shrek rides the giant gingerbread man through the kingdom and to the castle. Fiona meets Charming and is disgusted by his behavior. The fairy godmother dedicates a song to Fiona and Charming. Shrek arrives at the castle gate but faces resistance from the guards. They knock down the gingerbread man, but Shrek makes his way through the gate and opens it. Donkey rides in, and they enter the castle. Puss stays back and fights the guards as Shrek rushes to the ball. He arrives at the ball and stops Charming from kissing Fiona. The fairy godmother gets angry and tries to attack Shrek. The fairy tales work together and take her wand from her. She tells Charming that Fiona has taken the love potion and instructs him to kiss her. Charming kisses Fiona but she doesn't fall in love with him and knocks him out. Harold informs the fairy godmother that he didn't give Fiona the love potion, and Charming retrieves her wand and gives it to her. She tries attacking Shrek, but Harold jumps in the way. His armor deflects the attack and sends it back to her. The fairy godmother transforms into bubbles, and her wand falls to the ground. Harold emerges from the armor as a frog because the fairy godmother's magic kept him as a human. He apologizes for the trouble he put them through, and Lillian says she loves him as he is. Puss tells Shrek that it's almost midnight, and he asks Fiona if she wants to stay as a human forever. Fiona says she wants to live happily ever after, and after midnight, they transform into ogres, and Donkey reverts to a donkey. Shrek kisses Fiona, and as the audience cheers, they begin singing and celebrating. Later, Donkey sits alone, and the dragon arrives. She informs Donkey that they have children and their donkey-dragon hybrid babies arrive. The end. Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and tap the bell to be notified about our latest videos. See you next time.